Hello and welcome to Games Past Prime. This is a show where I take a look at video games and determine if they are past their prime or not. But for me to do so, there is a couple categories for which I need to follow. Story, presentation, gameplay, and then I wrap everything up in a nice little bow at the end with a conclusion section. You guys have already read the title, you already know what game we're playing. Let's take a look at Paper Mario. The story of Paper Mario is actually an interesting one. See, you might expect a pretty standard Mario game where Bowser captures Princess Peach and it's up to Mario to beat Bowser and to free the princess. However, while this is still true, there is indeed more to the story than meets the eye. There are 7 star spirits that grant wishes to this world, while equally protecting a tool called the Star Rod. The Star Rod can also grant wishes, but without the need of the star spirits. Bowser and Kammy Koopa end up stealing the Star Rod and capturing the 7 star spirits. The game starts with Mario going to visit Princess Peach at her castle for a party. When Mario arrives at the castle, there is no sign of Princess Peach, so he decides to go looking for her. When he finds her, this is when Bowser decides to crash the party by literally busting his way through a window. He then challenges Mario to fight, and of course Mario ends up beating him. However, this time Bowser has something up his sleeve. At this point, he pulls out the Star Rod to make himself, quote, invincible, unquote, and at this point, when they fight again, you find out you can't do any damage to Bowser. Bowser ends up beating Mario and taking the princess's castle and flying it into the sky along with his own castle, and then launching Mario out of the window. However, don't worry about Mario though. He is made out of paper, and he will just float to the ground. Mario ends up speaking to one of the captured star spirits through the star's image projecting itself and explaining for Mario to stand a chance against Bowser, he will need to first find and free all 7 of the star spirits. Now, if there's a reason this story sounds even slightly familiar to you, there is a good reason. Besides the fact that this is a somewhat similar Mario story, it also borrows quite heavily from another Mario game known as Super Mario RPG. Now, Mario RPG was made for the SNES and came out in 1996, which was made by Square. Square also happens to be known for making the Final Fantasy series, and as such clearly knows their RPGs. Now, the story of Mario RPG summed up is that a new villain, not named Bowser, crashes through Star Road, which is what helps grant wishes, and the road breaks into 7 star pieces. It's up to Mario and friends to collect all 7 star pieces, defeat this new villain, and restore Star Road so that wishes can be granted again. Now, I don't know about you, but this story sounds very similar to the story of Paper Mario, does it not? Well, there may be good reason for this. Paper Mario came out in 2001 and was developed by Intelligent Systems, who works very closely with Nintendo to the point that they only make games for Nintendo systems. So as far as I could find, Super Mario RPG did really well, and so Nintendo actually wanted to do a sequel. However, they must not have wanted to work with Square anymore or something, so they hired another team to do the game. It appears there may have been some type of dispute over the game and who owned what rights to Mario RPG. Paper Mario was originally going to be called Super Mario RPG 2, but with the disputes it seems Nintendo instead renamed the game to Paper Mario and more or less did a soft reboot of the Super Mario RPG name. This allowed Nintendo to keep some of the ideas from Super Mario RPG without taking characters from that world. This in turn allowed Nintendo to start a whole new RPG series of games in this Paper Mario universe. The graphics of Paper Mario are actually very unique. See, the N64 isn't the most powerful system, even for its generation, and while it can do full 3D graphics like GoldenEye or Super Mario 64, they instead decided for more of a 2D approach. However, rather than doing 2D just so the game would run smoother, they decided to give a reason for why the graphics would be 2D, thus the paper theme. It provides a different type of aesthetic that actually is very pleasing to look at. It's nice, it's colorful, all the models look very good. While the paper theme doesn't really translate much into gameplay or a lot of puzzles, it still looks good even when compared to graphics today. Them deciding to take this style of art direction allows the game to have more of a timeless look, and allows it to stand out from their other Mario games. Now, the music in Paper Mario is alright. There are a couple of tracks that I do actually like, however, I feel like they could have added more music, and hearing the same battle music over and over again for 20 hours gets a bit tiring if I'm going to be honest. The world and character themes are where the music becomes more interesting, and even then I would only say about half of those are actually any good. The gameplay of Paper Mario is that of a turn-based RPG with some light puzzle elements. In case you don't know what that means, it means that the player and the CPU take turns taking actions against the other, such as attacking, using special abilities, or using items. So before I get into the combat of the game, there are a couple of other things that I need to talk about first. Badges. If you already know what these are, then great. Otherwise, I will try my best to explain the badges. So the badges can provide different things, such as increased health, increased flower points, it can provide you different attacks in combat, and so on. Now, you're only given a certain amount of badge points, which you can upgrade with level ups, but it does eventually hit a cap. Badges use a certain amount of badge points. Some of the better badges use up to 6 points, but a lot of the early badges you get will only cost 1 or 2. Now let's talk about the flower point system. Flower points are also known as FP, and are more or less the mana system for this game. They allow you to use special abilities that deal more damage than your standard attacks. Along the way, you will meet people who will join your party and will help you fight and help you solve puzzles in the world. Each companion is unique and has its own abilities and attacks, and while out of combat, each party member has its own special ability that helps you to solve puzzles. First, you will meet a young Goomba named Goombaria. His ability is Tattle. During combat, he can tell you about enemies such as its HP or its weaknesses. Outside of combat, Goombario can tell players about the area they are in, or about specific characters that they're looking at. Next, you'll meet a Koopa named Cooper. His special ability allows Mario to jump on his shell and shoot him a short distance in front of Mario. This can be used to pick up items that are out of reach or to activate switches that are over a gap too large to jump. Next, you will meet a Bob-omb named Bombette. Her ability allows you to activate the wick on her head and march her walking a short distance before she explodes. This is used to break open cracks that are in walls that either reveal a secret or an area you must access to move on in the story. Next, you will run into a Paratroopa named Parakarry. His special ability allows him to grab hold of Mario and carry him over short distance gaps that are too large for Mario to jump over. After this, you will meet a Boo named Lady Bow. Her special ability allows you to make herself and Mario not only just invisible, but also intangible, so that objects will move through them. However, during the ability, you cannot move or the ability will just stop working. Then you'll meet a little Sparky named Watt. Her special ability allows Mario to grab hold of her and hold her out in front of him to light up areas that are too dark to see through. Next, you will meet a Cheep Cheep named Sushi. Her ability allows you to jump into water with her and swim around, but only at sections that have the wooden platforms that allow you to even activate this ability in the first place. Now finally, you will meet a Lakitu named Lecleister. I think that's how you say his name. It's pretty annoying. Its special ability allows you to ride on his back, which is faster than Mario's walking, but also allows you to fly over spikes or lava, which would normally damage Mario. Alright, now that we have talked about everything around the combat, such as badges and the party members, I think it's finally time we talk about the combat itself. So, there are a variety of ways to initiate combat, such as jumping on an enemy or hitting it with the hammer, or being hit by the enemy, or touching the enemy. Once in combat, Mario and whatever party member they head out with them will go into the combat. Once in combat, you'll be given some options as to how to proceed. You can either jump on enemies, hit them with the hammer, use items, or use the Star Spirits. You can equally choose to run away from the fight. If you choose to jump, you need to decide what kind of jump. Will it be a normal jump, or a jump you have access to thanks to the badges, which will in turn use FP? Will you instead choose to use the hammer? What kind of attack with the hammer? Normal or one that uses FP? What if you choose an item? Will you choose to defend yourself, or deal some damage? Note, the party members don't have health and are typically not targeted by enemies. However, if they are damaged, the amount of damage they take will be the amount of turns that they will have to miss. If you decide to use the Star Spirits, you need to first see if you have enough star power. Then you will need to decide among the powers to use, such as healing, slowing the enemy, putting them to sleep, or doing damage. Once you have decided your action, it will be played out, and then the turn will move on to your party member. Once you are controlling the party member, you can choose what kind of attack they will use, a normal attack or one that uses FP, or you can choose to do nothing or change party members. Once Mario and his party members have done their attacks, it will move on to the enemy's turn to attack. This then will go back and forth until one side has been defeated. However, there is still one thing I really haven't talked about, which is actions that happen when you are attacking or being attacked. So to keep the players engaged in combat, they made an action system. So when you attack, there are actions to do with that attack which will increase the damage done. These actions can range from timing the button press for the jump just right to where you'll do a double jump. Sometimes it's just holding the stick to the left and releasing at the right time. or tapping left on the control stick fast enough to get a bar filled up, or even by tapping buttons in a specific order. Then equally, when you are being attacked, there are only two different defense actions that I have found. One of them is just tapping the A button right before an enemy hits Mario to reduce the damage. The second one is when an enemy was stealing life from Mario, you need to tap A to fill up a bar, and once it's filled, the enemy will stop its attack. So during combat, you had to decide what Mario is going to do, what the party member will do. You will then need to do the actions to maximize the damage output while equally doing actions during the enemy's turn to reduce the amount of damage taken. While this all sounds complicated, it's really not. They make the combat easy to start and get into, and the game itself isn't all that challenging. Though I do want to note that I did find a difficulty spike right around chapter 6 to 7, where before I was getting through random monsters quite easily and quickly, to where now the monsters were starting to become threats and deal some decent amount of damage. However, with that said, I think it overall captures the ease for a kid to be able to pick up and play and learn. And while it does spike in difficulty, I think just about anyone could really learn how to play most RPGs by playing this game. Now, I quickly want to address the gameplay that happens in between chapters. When Mario frees a Star Spirit, the game switches to where you take control of Princess Peach. This is where you first meet a child star named Twink. Together, they manage to sneak around Peach's castle and gather information that allows Twink to inform Mario about where to find some of the Star Spirits. Now, normally I hate these sections, but I think it actually works well here because while you are in a stealth section, it really isn't that hard, and it breaks up the game nicely that helps you to unwind after a boss battle, and equally informs you about where next to go. Spoiler warning. After you have collected all the Star Spirits, you are now ready to take on Bowser. Mario travels to Star Haven, where the stars live, and they provide him a way to transport himself and his party members to Bowser's castle that was floating in the sky. Once arriving at the castle, Mario must make his way through traps and enemies to make his way to the top of Bowser's castle, where Peach's castle happens to be at. Once Mario makes his way through Peach's castle, he will end up running into Bowser and begin to fight. Bowser will again use the Star Rod to make himself quote-unquote invincible. And then the Star Spirits reach out to Mario to let him know they have the power to negate the power of the Star Rod. After this happens, Bowser ends up taking Peach and running away to the top of Peach's castle. Mario gives chase, and once he finds them, Mario sees that Bowser and Kammy Koopa had been watching Mario save the Star Spirits and came up with a way to make them useless. Through some type of magic, Kammy Koopa built a platform that would make Bowser stronger, and once he uses the Star Rod on the platform, he is now actually invincible. Mario will try to use the Star Spirits to negate this and find out that they no longer can since Bowser is too powerful. Twink, the child star that was with Peach, tries to help Peach, and through Peach wishing Twink could become stronger and be protected, he does indeed become stronger. Now the Star Spirits, with the help of Twink, are able to negate the effects of the Star Rod, allowing Mario to be able to defeat Bowser. The verdict of Paper Mario is a game not past its prime. So I actually had a lot of fun playing this game again. It brought back a lot of memories, and it still is a very solid game even today. So here, let me list my top 5 reasons as to why I believe this. Number 1. While the story itself isn't new and almost feels like a ripoff, I feel enough was changed around to make it feel different. At the very least, it isn't just a typical Mario game plot. While it has notes of it here and there, it has more to it, which just makes it fun, and you want to see how things will turn out because of this. Number 2. While the music didn't really capture me, and well, I just don't think the music was that great, the graphics were very unique. Up to this point, I can't say I really have seen a paper-themed game like this, and while it might not utilize that theme to its fullest, I still think it's interesting enough, and it is a nice change of pace compared to most games that tried to make use of the N64's 3D graphics. 3. The game isn't hard to pick up. This was actually done on purpose, so that even children could play this game. So for me, it didn't offer up much of a challenge until that difficulty spike, but even then, it was still fun, and I remember when I was younger the game being more difficult, so I'm clearly not the age group that was being targeted. It does a fantastic job at teaching children the mechanics of the game and how it works, and then at the end it takes the training wheels off and stops holding their hands, and I think this is fantastic. Often you will see games that are targeted to kids that are just boring, dull, or just badly made. Number 4. The party members are all quite unique from each other, and them having abilities that help you solve problems outside of combat makes them more interesting. As far as I remember, this was one of the first games I played that actually did something like this, and while the puzzles aren't that hard to figure out, at the time it felt very rewarding when I figured out the games and how to do a specific puzzle, and even now I still felt the same way. Number 5. Overall, I just had fun with this game. It may not have been that difficult, but it presented a challenge often enough that it kept me invested and wanting to play and see what the ending was going to be. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you did enjoy watching it, please consider subscribing. I make videos every week that release on Sundays. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you again. Thanks for watching.